to 06880, the podcast. My guest today is Robbie Guimond. He is a longtime Westporter and a strong advocate for the Saugatuck River. He owns a marina on Riverside Avenue, and last year Robbie launched, pun intended, Westport Paddle Club. He's got a special view of the Saugatuck River, the village of Saugatuck, and all of Westport that most of us are not really privileged to see. So we're going to talk about the river today. How do you love the river so much?
Oh.
You know, what? Talk to us about the Saugatuck.
Seems like an easy question, but actually, it's kind of long-winded, but everything I do is long-winded. So, excuse me. I just want to start off by thanking you for having me. The folks that have been in this chair are so accomplished and amazing in their own right. And I went back and watched some of the videos, and I thought, why is Dan calling me up for an interview?
Because I like interesting people.
Well, I was just going to say, Westport is a very diverse community, and there's a lot going on in town here, a lot of great people, and I'm just proud to be here, and I thank you personally for that.
Sure.
And I thank you for what you do with the blog and obviously this. But your question, why do I love the river? Well, my parents moved to the Norwalk Harbor in 1975, and long story short, we were off and running. Our yard was tiny, but our playground was the Norwalk Harbor. So from about 1980, I was around 9, 10 years old, they kind of cut us loose into the harbor, and we could go wherever Mom could see us with the binoculars, and that grew into stretching our wings out to the Norwalk Islands and the lighthouses, and then even, has grown into an entire business and trade for me. Just love Long Island Sound, and my father was lucky enough and smart enough to move us to the water in 75. He was also lucky and smart enough to buy that little property on Riverside Avenue that I call home with my wife Taryn and my 3 daughters, Amelia, Olivia, and River, my 5-year-old.
Wow.
So we're a salty family, and the river is just a connection to our life.
I think for a long time, the Saugatuck River started out as the reason that Westport, or Saugatuck as it was known then, grew up. It was it was a river of commerce. It was a river of transportation. And then I think over the years, many people in Westport took it for granted. It was sort of an afterthought.
I think you're right.
And over the past maybe 10 or 20 years, it's come back into our consciousness. What does the river mean to you? Why is it important?
Well, we were just chatting about this just a second ago when I got here, and I think when you lean back and look, previous generations, the river was a hub of commerce, and the river created generational wealth for many families in Westport. And when that commerce aspect shut down, it kind of, like you said, became a little bit forgotten. And I believe what has happened, or what is happening, is the connection between river and lifestyle and quality of life is starting to become more prevalent. And people are being a little more aware. Not large steps, but little steps, right? So we're seeing, in the last 10 years, we've seen more activity. We've seen things like Saugatuck Center being built on the river. We've seen small pocket projects that are starting to bring life back. And I've been here for 30 years, and so I watched I wouldn't want to call it the decline. That's too derogatory. But I've watched it, sway one way and start to come back the other. So it's very fulfilling personally to see it, and also to be part of it, and hopefully to participate in a positive way.
How would you assess the state of the Saugatuck River right now?
Well, from a water quality issue, I think the water quality in Long Island Sound, and obviously by default the river is really good. There's a lot of wildlife that I haven't seen on here. There's a lot of great fishing. There's a lot of things that have come up in the last 10, 15 years that have proven that. It's obvious. When it comes to topography, dredging issues, big developments, things like that, I think there's some areas that we can grow and learn from. I'm a big proponent for dredging. After spending so many years on the river and working on it and playing in it, because we really do play in it often, I'm uniquely aware of its its shortcomings in its current configuration. And one of them is navigable waterways. That's specifically for boating, but there's so many other things that come along with that. Fisheries and areas where spawning is happening, things like that. If we don't have a reasonable depth river, all the way up to say Route 1, we're gonna regret it. So I had a meeting. Actually, I was invited to go to a round table with Senator Murphy at Sherwood Island, and it was interesting to be invited to that with all these scientists and all these really prominent and intelligent, educated people, professionals of Long Island Sound and those genres. But the good thing that I got from that is people are paying attention, which I wouldn't have said that 10 years ago. So I was proud. I said to Senator Murphy, I said, I'm proud of you. You know, not. It's not always that we think that the folks working for us in Washington are paying attention.
Wow.
So I felt it felt good to say thanks. You're paying attention, and that's good. So let's do some work.
So you're saying that we must dredge all the way up to the Post Road Bridge?
Well, I mean, everyone's perspective is different. I think when you are able to look at all the perspectives, then you can come to a reasonable conclusion. We've maintained that waterway all the way to Route 1 for many, 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 many years. I think the last time it was dredged, Dick Fincher, actually, one of my boat customers told me, I think it was in might have been early 70s, which was a maintenance dredge. So we really haven't done any maintenance on that waterway in a long time. So I really think that if we don't take advantage of the situation of the new awareness to promote river maintenance dredging, we're going to regret it. And there's a lot of activity downtown, so I'd like to see the river connected downtown more, and the only way that that's going to happen is if we take care of the river. There's talk about a pier and a couple other things right over here in the parking lot, and if we can't get to those things by water because it's dry at low tide, it's not even really worth doing, is it? So I'm encouraged to see so many people starting to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because it was non-existent for a while. So this is a good time.
People are also talking about the Cribari Bridge.
Kabali Bridge, yes. They talk about it often, and they're very passionate. I'd like to think that I am as well. I'm one of the members of the PAC commission that was put together with the state to talk about that. And, it's a sensitive topic. I think a lot of people aren't interested in taking a stand because of the backlash. We owned the property on Riverside Avenue when the restoration in the 90s was done, and there was a lot of crucial mistakes done at that point, which directly affected the marina aspect, and not just our marina, but the VFW. And at the time, there was Northrop's Landing before the Rowing Club. There was a marina that's still there behind the reef that was bustling. And so when they did that restoration project, the bridge was actually returned to its historic state as you see it now, lower than it was before they started that project. So we've dealt with it. But I think now there's an opportunity that needs to be looked at very, very, very carefully. I really love the bridge. I named my business Bridgebrook. I look out at it every day, and it's just gorgeous, in my opinion. Other people aren't so particularly excited about its aesthetics, but I really think it's cool. But I don't believe that at this stage in the life of the river, and in this case the bridge, it's prudent to dismiss what the bridge has done to the river. And what it has done just by default is has stopped the flow of commerce, and in this case now recreation north of it. And there's a lot of ways to look at that. You can get bridge openings. Well, those aren't very popular to the people in the cars. I don't particularly like when Saugatuck locks up for whatever reason, and that's one of the reasons. And I think the state is prepared to do something about it, that if we don't take advantage of it now, we'll have another 50 or 100 years of the same situation that we have now, which is basically people don't consider Saugatuck navigable after the bridge, north of the bridge. You can't get everything. There has to be some compromises. And I think the pros and cons weigh in the side of a replacement bridge that's suitable and correctly sized and fits the community, but allows, river traffic to go under and allows pedestrian and bicycle traffic to go over, and cars, obviously, of course. There's a lot of conversation about truck traffic and 95 overflow. Jury's out for me on that. I don't see 53-foot tractor trailers going over the bridge or any bridge or through Greens Farms or Saugatuck. But we already have tractor trailers going over it now. The Galt family sends their truck over it daily. It happens to be a flatbed and a little bit shorter than a 53-foot truck, but everyone else is going over it. So I really don't think that a replacement bridge is going to bring the traffic issue that some people are concerned about. I think it's going to help. And the reason why I say that is because the temporary bridge back in 1990 alleviated the same or similar traffic issue that we have today. The temporary bridge flowed beautifully. People were up and over it, and it just was like, wow, to the point where when it was time to take the temporary bridge down, I don't know if you recall, there was
I do.
People that were
want
like,
to, wait a minute, let's keep
like
it up
that
here.
bridge, yeah. So I'm not an advocate for a big, a giant bridge. But I think if we miss this opportunity now to make an advancement, our community in general will regret it.
You've mentioned navigation a few times. What does that mean? What would a navigable river up to the post road, what would it look like and what would it bring?
Well, I mean, if I can just, use my magic wand, what it would bring is something very similar, although different in geography, to Huntington and Northport, where people come from this part of Long Island Sound to Westport, can go under the bridge for, however it ends up being, whether it's replaced or they call for an opening or figure out a way to open it easy, all the way up to the new downtown project where they're going to build a pier here, and they tie up and they can go get what's the new place that just opened up over across from
Cold Fusion?
The Cold Fusion. They can go up there and get something from them, or they can come down and hit one of the restaurants, or even better, make an evening out of it and go to the Levitt and watch a show. How cool would that be, right?
Yeah.
I think if we connect the river to downtown, you're going to see a lot of life come from just that one stream, for lack of a better word. But I'd like to see it dredged. I think there's areas in the river, and it's not the whole river, it's not the whole width of the river, it's a navigable channel, which is fairly narrow. You won't notice the difference, but you will at low tide when you're in a boat. And you will notice the difference when there's 3 or 4 boats tied up to hopefully the pier that they're going to build. You're going to notice the difference when it starts to become a tributary of life. And I'm hopeful to be around that it happens soon enough to be able to witness it. But I'm even more aware of my children. What a shame it would be to not take advantage of this situation and to bring life back via the river for the next generation.
Interesting, as you're talking, I'm realizing that it would also tie Saugatuck to Westport, to downtown Westport.
Yeah.
Right now there's sort of 2 separate entities, but it would tie them together.
Absolutely. I mean, a few years back we had a town meeting about the bridge, which was very passionate. Lots of people came, had a lot of things to say, but one of the things I thought is thinking out of the box, right? If we could figure out a way to tie Saugatuck and Saugatuck Railroad Station in particular to downtown in a transient maritime way. We went to, I think it was Universal last year, or not last year, a few years ago, because COVID, right? Everything's going so quickly. But they moved most of their people by small ferries, water taxis. And I thought, why can't we do that here? Have you been to Baltimore?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, amazing,
Harbor,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's another town, another small city, I think it was in the Michigan area, I might be mistaken, turned their waterfront around, started to use that as a way of transportation. Just imagine coming from New York City, getting off the train, right? Grabbing a cappuccino from one of the places there, walk down, get on a small water taxi, take a beautiful boat ride up one of the most gorgeous rivers in our area, and tie up to the pier here, and then do that to get dinner. And if you don't want to take the water taxi back, you grab an Uber or a public transportation back to the train and back into the big city you go. I mean, I can't think of a better day.
Wow.
For a New Yorker or anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm reaching now. I realize I'm reaching, but hey, it's got to start somewhere. And I'm hopeful this is the beginning of that kind of thought, that kind of mindset.
Yeah. Well, you clearly think outside the box when you started the Westport Paddle Club. What's the background of that? How did you come up with that?
Truth be told, we stumbled into it. My lovely wife, Taryn, and I, we were walking down to Garlic and Herbs to get a coffee, and we were chatting about the Down Under business that was literally within 72 hours closed their doors. Kim said she had enough. And when we were walking down, Karen, who used to work for Kim and managed the Westport store, was walking out. And I kind of knew her. I bought a paddleboard from them before. And so I said, hey, I was shocked that Down Under closed. It was always busy. And I said, so what are you going to do? Right? And she just looked at me kind of threw her arms up, And Taryn said to me, she goes, why don't you do it at our place? And I was like, uh-oh, what are you getting me into, Long story short, it was a week before the Slice of Saugatuck. And we put together a website. We came up with a name. I'll take credit for the name. Marty made us up some signs. I don't know if you know Marty, the sign guy.
Marty Rogers.
Yep. And we put our flag in the sand, so to speak, that we're here and we're going to try to allow something that I thought was positive, which was inexpensive public access. And we went for it. No one came. That was in the fall. I think I bought 10 paddle boards and a couple of kayaks from Longshore. They were great. They allowed us to have some stuff to work with, and no one came. And I thought, this isn't going to work, right? But I'm more of a pessimist. Taryn is a very optimistic person. So she did what she does, which is quietly start to organize things. And we looked, and I said, well, we're going to open in the spring, right? So we had to wait that winter out, which was a little bit of, is this going to work? And then COVID happened. So and then the conversation is, do we do this? Can we do this? Can we do it safely? Are we allowed? Are we, all these variables, And, we kind of just said, well, let's move forward slowly and methodically and see what happens. And the paddle club turned out to be an amazing experience for not only me, Taryn, and my 3 daughters, but also all the kids that we ended up hiring, and also the people that came. I've been on the water for 30 years, and you would think that I would know how therapeutic the water is, right? Of course, I would be kind of lost if I couldn't get out there every day or so. But I watched people within the first 2 or 3 weeks. It was very clear that people don't get a chance to access the river, the waterfront, and they would come up and double mast, arms crossed, like gloves. And we would just welcome them and ask them, how are you? How are you doing in this time? And a little hesitant, right? And a lot of these people were coming out of the city. And I'm like, let us take care of you and let you get in the water and give you a little time to breathe, and we'll deal with the business stuff when you get back, And send them off on a paddleboard or a kayak, and they'd go out for an hour and come back in, and then, arms were open, shoulders were relaxed. And they would look at us and be like, I can't explain to you how much I needed that. And that was an interesting experience for me, because then I keyed on it, and I said to the kids that were working for us, we hired upwards of 40 kids to work the paddle club. And kind of like saying, hey guys, we're not, we have kayaks and paddle boards, but we're really in the hospitality business. And what we're here to do, whether we know this or not, is to take care of people in a time that they need to be helped. The thing we lost with COVID was human connection. And the thing that the paddle club provided last year was a small reprieve from that, to get human connection and to allow yourself to relax and breathe and to treat yourself to a little moment of therapy. So it was just so rewarding, But it was also really, really busy. And there was times where I looked at Taryn and I was like, why are we doing this? We have a great life. She has a lovely business in town called Around the Rosie. I have the marina. I do a construction thing. Why are we putting people out on kayaks? But they would come back in and it would solidify the reason why. And we also had this pool of amazing young people that wanted to come and work and be part of the paddle club. And it was addictive. So we would hire one kid and he would come and he would experience that. And then he would tell his friend and he'd be like, oh, my friend wants a job. And we like to say yes, or yes, but we have to figure it out instead of no. So give all the kids a equal opportunity. We pretty much hire everyone. And it's sink or swim. not everybody took to it, but most did. And I watched growth from these young people, learning how to deal with someone in a slightly vulnerable, safe way, but allow them that flexibility to, and then see the people get off the water and the way they look, and then watch the kids that work for us feed off of that. End of last summer, all the kids that worked for us were like, this wasn't even a job. This was just fun. So I like to think that we're people-centric, family-centric, and we leave the fiscal stuff to just kind of figure it out. But we had this beautiful place, and allowing people access to the water has been something that I've kind of cherished with my own experience. Affordable old New England boatyard where regular people can still get down to the dock. You don't need a $200,000 center console with 3 outboards on it or a $5 million waterfront home. You can just pull in with your pickup truck and get in your fishing boat and go out for a few hours, and it's fairly affordable. So that kind of carried over to the paddle club, whereas this is a way for regular people to have an hour or two of reprieve from the difficulties of life, which we've been going through some stuff, right? So,
Yeah.
So I'm just really proud of the kids that work at the paddle club. The paddle club is not me. The paddle club is the kids that work for us, and the people that come, and the kids that come for the camps. And I got to give all the credit to Taryn.
Wow.
Yeah, she's on the phone, on the computer. She's organizing things. I might be able to say hello and smile at you and welcome you, but without her idea, her support, her focus on doing this wouldn't have happened. So.
And how great for your daughters, too, to be able to grow up and see all this.
Yeah, I mean, again, another silver lining of the paddle club that I'm going to take that one, right? For my daughters to watch mom and dad create something, take an opportunity, create something, and then for it to just, by default, become such a wonderful experience. And, kids grow up quick. And I know that I only have this window with them, and it happens to be when we're doing the paddle club at the same time. And they're half staff. We have shirts that say half staff. They get out there, they work. My kids are real salty, real strong paddlers. I watch them take kids in the camp specifically under their wing. I said, come on, you can do it. It's like today's Monday. We put 20 kids on the water, and you watch them on Monday kind of flounder around a little bit and struggle and figure out how to put the vest on, and it's crooked. And then on Tuesday, they're like, clip, clip, clip. They got that figured out, and they make it down to the dock and into the water, and, they're getting a little technique down. You're watching them. Wednesday, off and running. So Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays for the camp are just kids being kids, paddling and swimming, and Friday we have ice cream, and it's just pretty cool. Even today, Taryn, last night, she was like, this is too much, I'm losing it. And then this morning, we watched the kids go out, and knock on wood, it went off very well this morning. And she was like, okay, I get why we're doing it, and this is why,
So it seems in an era when kids are overprotected and parents do everything for their children and risk-taking is seen as a bad thing, you've created not only the opportunity for kids to go out and discover themselves on the river, but you've done the same for your employees.
Well, that was one of those things that just kind of happened. Like I said, what's more important in life than people? Not too much, right? And one of the things is that makes that doable is just to be kind. So the only prerequisite when you work for the paddle club is stay off your phone, come on time. That's Taryn, come on time, ready to work. Stay off your phone, and have fun, and be kind. So if you can kind of do those second things well, the first two, figure it out. We live in a very high tension, high stress, high demand community. In the hub of New York City, outside of it, it's rough. There's moments where I'm like, ugh, why are we living here? But when I see the opportunity for growth in myself or in my daughters or in the kids that work for us, that is something that they can carry on into their life. I'm like, this is important. It's important to make money. It's important to do all of these things. But what's most important, at least to me, in my opinion, is just to take care of people and do it in a way that's, safe and kind. And the reward from that, money doesn't buy that. That's life experience. And I'm hopeful that these young people take that, look at someone in the eyes, ask them how they are genuinely, let them tell you, listen, ask them a question. Where are you from? What do you like to do? Is this your first time? And then let them tell you. And just invite them into an experience that you're confident in yourself in providing that for them, which allows them to relax.
Yeah.
So we're pretty safety oriented. I don't play that. The water is really fun until it's not fun anymore. So I focus on that. But also just put a smile on, say good morning to someone, ask them how they are. This simple stuff that we forgot. The people come and they say, what is it? Was it in the water? What is it here? And I say, I don't know. I'd like to take a little credit for it, but I think it's a combination of everyone. And it's one step. I could teach one person that, and then they teach the next person, and they teach the next person. And before you know it, they don't even know they're doing it. They don't even really realize they're just being human and being kind to people. It's pretty cool.
So who are your customers? Are they Westporters? Are they all over?
Well, we like to think that we're the place that the locals go, right? We're laid back. We have a cool little setup. I mean, you've been there, we have set up some sand and some palm trees and reggae all day, every day. So we like to think that's the locals that come to us when they want to do that. But we have had a very diverse group of people. We've had people from all over the tri-state. I'm blown away how far people have come. We had this family that came from Brooklyn last week, found us on the web, came, they saw the reviews, the good place, happy people. So they came and they went out and I watched them. They literally laid on the paddle boards and lounged for the hour and let the current move them. And I thought, how cool is that? A way to use the river and the gear that we have in a different manner. Some people come and they want to paddle and they're athletes and they like the physical aspect of it and they like being in nature. These people came from Brooklyn, which can be a little high stress, just to lay on the boards and float. And I was like, this is another good thing. We had a guy come in yesterday, a handy-capable guy, doesn't have the use of his legs or his arms, a little bit with his hands, and he's 50 years old. He said he never kayaked in his life, and he had been told in multiple places that that couldn't handle him. Today or yesterday, we helped him get in a kayak with his sister, who's visiting from Southern California, and he went out kayaking for the first time, and it was a lot. I'm not going to say it wasn't. And we had to take him in and out of the kayak 2 or 3 times to get him positioned so he wouldn't, get himself in a predicament. And we sent out a guide with him, and I went out on a support boat and hung around, tried to stay out of sight, but I was close by. And we have radios and we communicate and hand signals and stuff. And he just had a blast. He was hooting and hollering out there, and I was like, that's a first. Last week, people are laying on the boards, floating with the current. This week, there's this handy-capable guy who's screaming, having such a blast. He came off the water. It was just like, I said to one of the guys, Lorenzo, and this is why we woke up today. This was this was why we're here.
Wow.
And it just feels good. Turns out he's a heavy hitter, so he's doing some big stuff in his world, which I was impressed. Which, we're learning too.
Yeah. So it sounds like the river is the great equalizer.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how much money you have or how little you have. When you get out there and you get a little bit of time to yourself, you find yourself we're all human, right? So, there's a lot of background stuff that goes into it, and not as all bright and shiny as I'm portraying it right now. There are moments where I'm like, oh, God, But that's with everything, right? But the river has given back in a time where people needed it, And, selfishly, it's given back to me and my family as well.
Yeah.
So we're hoping. We had a little pushback this year. Some people don't particularly agree with everything that I do or we're doing. But those are, that's expected. So we're going to move forward, and we're going to see what happens. And, if we get permission to continue for next year, then great. And if we don't, well, it's kind of sad for the community. I still get to go play in the backyard with my kids and paddle and kayak and go on the boat and swim. But everybody else won't be able to. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to try to stay on the optimistic side instead of the pessimistic side.
So what's ahead? Any big plan, new ideas, anything you want to implement?
Yeah, I mean, we just did a big river cleanup that was just amazing. We had a lot of support. JRs came on board with food, and 99 Bottles supported some beverages, and we had a reggae band, and VFW donated their parking lot, and just got a lot of yeses from people, which it's nice. It's a little bit contagious to say yes. And so we're looking into a benefit this coming month in August for mental health awareness. Mm-hmm. We've been through some stressful times in the last few weeks with that, and I thought we can do something. Again, it's not big, but it's one step, And it's the same thing with the river. If one person picks up trash that wouldn't normally do it, then the work was worth it. And I'm hopeful that we're able to pull off this next benefit. And I think if it allows one person to pick up a phone or click a link and learn about the options for getting some help if they need it, it's a direct personal connection with that myself. And now with obviously what's been happening in town, the tragedy that we've experienced, one step at a time.
Wow. Yeah, one small step for man. That was on the moon. Here we are at the river, and
in a very small scale, a very similar mindset.
Yeah.
You can't take leaps. If you take little steps, big things can be accomplished.
It's important.
Yes,
it's important. And Robbie Guimond, thank you for spending time with us, for educating me about the river and its importance to Westport, and for anyone out there, if you get a chance. The Westport Paddle Club right there on Riverside Avenue next to the VFW. It's can't think of a more relaxing way to spend
it's a great little spot, and we would love to have you as anyone in town or outside of town to come down and visit. Even just come down and sit in the sand and look out over the bridge and the rowing club and enjoy the view. You don't have to go on a kayak, but you're more than welcome to come down and enjoy our spot.
Great. Robbie, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and this is 06880, the podcast.
Thanks, Dan.